beneficiaries onto the National Health Insurance Scheme. In 2022, government will facilitate the disbursement of the bi-monthly cash grants to beneficiaries. Lead beneficiaries assessed to be above the extreme poverty line will be graduated into a productive livelihood inclusion program. Mr. Speaker, government has rolled out an aggressive vaccination program to protect Ghanaian lives from COVID-19. Sustained efforts have seen about 2 million Ghanaians receiving a single dose of 825,706 fully vaccinated as of September 2021. We will not relent, Mr. Speaker, until our goal of vaccinating 20 million Ghanaians is attained. Our supply of some 9 million vaccines are now assured and will mobilize to meet this goal to protect our people. Mr. Speaker, in line with the vision to improve equitable access to health facilities, the government will accelerate the implementation of Agenda 111, Mr. Speaker, comprising the 101 district hospitals, 7 regional hospitals, and 3 psychiatric hospitals. Mr. Speaker, already we have 50% of contractors having been given and handed over their cadastral plans and hospital sites for them to begin work. The government in works and housing. The government will initiate a program to subsidize the cost of horizontal site and services development in selected areas. On the supply side, traditional authorities and districts will provide land to developers, and tax incentives and exemptions will come from government. On the demand side, government is establishing a national home ownership fund to support mortgage schemes and REITs, while also promoting rent-to-own schemes in the country. To scale up, we commence engagement with participating financial institutions to promote residential rent-to-own schemes. Authorities and districts will provide land to developers, and tax incentives and exemptions will come from government. On the demand side, the National Home Ownership Fund is will facilitate the use of innovative products to tap into pension funds and other long-term funds to support home ownership in Ghana. Trade and industry. A total of 278 1D1F projects are at various stages of implementation, out of which 106 factories are operational. The companies that are currently operational have created a total of 156,782 direct and indirect jobs, 17,451 of which were created in 2021. It is expected, Mr. Speaker, that the completion of the 1D1F projects currently under construction and in the pipeline will create additional 131,817 direct and indirect jobs in 134 districts across the country. Mr. Speaker, trading under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement commenced on 1st January 2021, and Ghana was the first country to establish a customs procedure code to facilitate FTA. A comprehensive national policy and action plan aimed at medium to large-scale companies in Ghana to export to the AfCFTA market was developed and is being implemented. To this end, 180 companies were identified to receive support to export to markets under the AfCFTA and other preferential trade agreement areas. Mr. Speaker, food and agriculture. To increase productivity and incomes, as well as improve livelihoods of beneficiary farmers, the government procured and distributed some 31,707 metric tons of improved seeds as of September 2021. In addition, 259,500 metric tons of various fertilizers were also distributed to planting for food and joint beneficiaries across the country. Under the Savannah Agriculture Productivity Improvement, the government developed 1,000 hectares of farmland in Gbadimblesi, Kojokwe, for rice production, which are estimated to yield about 40% above the national average production of 2.5 to 3 metric tons in lowland valleys. Mr. Speaker, to ensure safe launching and landing of artisanal fishing, as well as create and maintain hygienic environment and job opportunities within the fishing communities, government will continue with the construction of the 14 fishing landing sites, which are various stages of completion. Government expects to complete approximately 60% of this in 2022. Mr. Speaker, to improve revenue generation and management at the local level, government rolled out the district-level revenue DL-Rev software in 114 metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies across the country. 2022, we will roll out the software in the remaining MMDAs to improve on their revenue mobilization. Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Program. Mr. Speaker, government will focus on completing the almost 5,000 ongoing projects under the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Program in 2020. So far, a total of 30 out of the 1,000 mechanized water systems, as well as 507 small F dams out of the 560 targeted, have been completed under the One Village, One Dam initiative. All the 50 rural markets targeted under the agriculture component have been completed. Furthermore, 451 additional constituency projects, which cut across all sectors such as health, education, agriculture, roads, and security, have been concluded and are in use by the beneficiary communities. Mr. Speaker, we commit to completing all the projects in the next 2 years. Mr. Speaker, in 2022, Ghana will participate in the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham and continue preparatory activities towards organizing and hosting the 13th Africa Games in Accra in 2023. Government will procure sports logistics and equipment and begin the construction of a new multi-purpose sports hall, hostel facilities, and Olympic-sized swimming pool at Boteman in Accra. Mr. Speaker, some stadia across the country were renovated in 2021 and at various stages of completion as follows. Accra Sports Stadium, 98%, Phase 1 of Baba Yara Stadium, 98%, Esipon Stadium, 90% complete, Cape Coast Stadium, 60%. In 2022, government will continue the construction of the Abreu and the new Edubiasi Sports Stadia, as well as commence the rehabilitation of the Sunyani Coronation Park Stadium. Mr. Speaker, government continues to expand power generation capacity to meet domestic, commercial, and industrial needs of customers. In this regard, construction work on the 200 megawatt phase of the 400 megawatt early power project continued in 2021. Construction works for stage 1A are 99.7% complete, and works for the stage 18 combined cycle are 93% complete. In 2022, a joint venture partner will be engaged to undertake the repowering of the T3 power project with VRA. Mr. Speaker, to ensure power is affordable for industrial, commercial, and residential use, government, in collaboration with key stakeholders, continued with the renegotiation and restructuring of power purchase agreements. Government has reached agreements with some IPPs to convert power plants to tolling structures, switch to natural gas, as well as reduce tariffs. This is expected to result in considerable savings to government and the nation over the remaining lifespan of the PPAs. These savings are expected to come from a combination of reduced capacity and energy charges across the portfolio. Mr. Speaker, In pursuit of the President's aspiration to achieve universal coverage of electricity by 2024, a total of 162 communities were connected to the national grid, thereby increasing the national electricity asset rate from 85.7% in 2020 to 86.63% in 2021. Connections to another 512 communities are at various stages of completion. In 2022, we'll work to complete many such projects, and approximately 800 towns will be connected to the national grid under the SHEP 4, SHEP 5, and turnkey projects. The government, Mr. Speaker, is committed to using indigenous entrepreneurs to complete these projects. Additionally, government will select 2,401 communities with a population of 400 and above to be connected to the national grid. Mr. Speaker, as part of the strategy to electrify island communities and hard-to-reach areas with renewable energy technologies, the construction of 3 mini-grids at Azepe, Aflevi, and Alopem Islands in the Adan East District of the Greater Accra region commenced and are expected to be completed in 2022. In addition, the government will construct 10 mini-grids in 10 island communities, as well as supply and install solar home systems in 20 island and lakeside communities in 2022. Mr. Speaker, on roads, we have found through this tax a reliable method of funding our roads. As at the end of September 2021, routine maintenance was carried out on 21,165 kilometers of the trunk road network, 6,265 kilometers of the feeder road network, and 2,937 kilometers of the urban road network. Mr. Speaker, development works progressed steadily on several major projects. The Pokwa interchange under the Accra Urban Transport Project, which involved the construction of a 4-tier interchange, the only one in Africa, construction of 12 kilometers of selected roads, segregated walkways, footbridges, underpasses, and drainage structures was completed and commissioned on July 9, 2021. Major pipeline projects that are expected to take off in 2022 include Accra-Kumasi dualization, Kumasi South and Western Bypass, Kumasi Outer Ring Road, Manfukofodia Road, Oyibi Dodua Somenya Kuse Junction Road, Accra Outer Ring Road, Asuchari Junction Volleyball Bridge, Eastern Corridor Road, Solar Wa Road, construction of 5 interchanges in the Greater Kumasi metropolitan area, including Swame, Santase, Airport Runabout, and Ofori Chrome. Mr. Speaker, in addition, our public-private partnership program for the financing, construction, and management of road infrastructure has 3 projects at different stages of preparation. Accra-Tema Motorway PPP projects, the financing arrangements are being completed and construction will commence in 2022. Accra Cape Coast Takoradi PPP projects, the feasibility study is being finalized. The final feasibility study report will provide key inputs into the Abidjan-Lagos Corridor project. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Infrastructure and Investment Fund, Mr. Speaker, will be looking at financing most of these PPP roads as government gives them support and have efficiency in its delivery. Mr. Speaker, for road safety, government in 2022 will increase and maintain traffic signals. In addition, road safety hazard sites are also expected to be created. This will be complemented with aggressive public education and enforcement of traffic regulations. Mr. Speaker, on security, in accordance with the Cybersecurity Act 2020 at 1038, the Cybersecurity Authority was officially inaugurated on 1st October 2021. With the passage of the Act, CSA will execute the various functions enshrined in the Act. Government will develop a critical Information Infrastructure Database, Government Digitalization Initiatives Database, and as well develop and implement a cyber risk management framework. The Accra Initiative Secretariat was established during the year. The initiative is an effort of 5 ECOWAS member states, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Burkina Faso, at sharing intelligence to combat and counter terrorism and associated criminal activities. In 2022, government will continue with the retooling of the intelligence agencies, the military, and departments and agencies under the Ministry of Interior, especially the police, with modern tools and software for improved communication and enhanced intelligence collection and analysis, including an armada of drones to protect our borders. In addition, we will pursue a policy of expansion of surveillance capabilities through the installation of more CCTV cameras systems nationwide. Mr. Speaker, this budget is crucial for a sustained recovery and transformation to a Ghana beyond aid and an entrepreneurial nation. It requires a careful realignment and rebalancing of our needs, our wants, and aspirations as a nation. This will also require burden sharing and the promotion of an entrepreneurial culture. We have extensively engaged and built partnerships of trust for the implementation of the policies presented in this budget. Mr. Speaker, this budget has outlined the plans of His Excellency the President and his government to continue tackling the devastating impact of the pandemic on our economy and the fiscal impact on our debt sustainability efforts. We have committed to bold and credible revenue and expenditure measures to achieve a new and more sustainable macro-fiscal balance, a path of fiscal consolidation to ensure access to international capital markets, empower the private sector to expand and create jobs, an unprecedented and historic comprehensive 10 billion cedi initiative to improve access to finance skills and promote entrepreneurship amongst our youth and to support the private sector. Continued implementation of our flagship programs to improve the living standards of our people, strategic investments through the Obatampa program to revitalize and transform the structure of our economy, and initiatives, Mr. Speaker, to advance digitalization to boost efficiency in our transactions. So, Mr. Speaker, the enablers of digitalization and ICT economy, finance, and skills training are boldly illustrated in this budget. Having steered our nation through the most difficult and uncertain period in our country's history and the worst crisis since World War II globally, and with Ghanaians renewing their mandate for His Excellency the President, I can assure you that the commitment of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to improve the living standards of fellow Ghanaians and to create a self-confident country that is in charge of its destiny remains his #1 priority. Mr. Speaker, he cannot do it alone. He will count on us standing with him to achieve Ghana's manifest destiny with greatness. Mr. Speaker, in his book, The Song Bird, Tony DeMello tells the following story. A man found an eagle's egg and put it in the nest of a barnyard hen. The eaglet hatched with a brood of chicks and grew up with them. All his life, the eagle did what the barnyard chicks did, thinking he was a barnyard chick. He scratched the air for worms and insects, he clacked and cackled, and he would thrash his wings and fly a few feet into the air. Years passed, and the old eagle grew very old. One day he saw a magnificent bird above him in the cloudless sky. It glided in graceful majesty among the powerful wind currents, with scarcely a beat of its strong golden wings. The old grounded eagle looked up in awe. "Who is that?" he asked. "That's the eagle, the king of the birds," said his neighbor. "He belongs to the sky. We belong to the earth. We are chickens." So the eagle lived and died a chicken, for that's what he thought he was. Mr. Speaker, we are eagles. We must eschew language of poverty of aspiration and reject the 10 spies who want us to go back to Egypt. We are God's people, meant for greatness, and let us fly. Mr. Speaker, we promised to reduce the suffering of Ghanaians when we came into office, and we did just that when we came into office. Specifically, let me tell you what the government of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has done. We reduced electricity tax cumulatively by 10.9% compared to a cumulative increase of 264% under the NDC. We provided free water for households for April, May, and June of 2020. We doubled the capitation grant from 4.5 to 10 cedis. We established the Nation Builders Corps of 100,000 graduates to build the job skills of our graduates to be absorbed into the workforce. We created jobs and stopped the freeze on recruitment in the public sector. Over 295,000 people were recruited. We abolished fees for postgraduate medical training in Ghana. We increased the share of DSCL to persons with disabilities by 50%. We exempted carrier from market tolls. We ensured the implementation of our pledge of employing 50% of the persons who manage the country's toll booths from among persons with disabilities. We expanded the LEAP by 150,000 beneficiaries. We expanded school feeding program from 1.6 billion children to 3.4, and now increasing it to over 4 million. We were able to restore teacher and nurses training allowance. We abolished the 3-month pay policy for teachers. We absorbed the cost of BEC and WASSCE term exam registrations. We abolished or reduced 15 taxes, including excise duty on petroleum, VAT on financial services, real estate, domestic airline tickets, etc. We made it easier to apply for a common passport. We made it easier to apply for a license. We made it easier and quicker to apply for and obtain pensions in 10 days. We made it easier to buy electricity from your mobile phone. We made it easier to apply for scholarships. We made it easier to send and receive money through mobile money interoperability. We made it easier to open a traditional bank account using your Ghana card. No guarantor is now required to obtain student loans. The Ghana card is sufficient. We reduced corruption associated with obtaining public services by digitization of service delivery. We saved the NHIS from collapse by reducing arrears to service providers. We provided 600 million COVID fund for small businesses. We made it easier for the renewal of NHIS membership through mobile phones. We made it easier to register a business. We made it easier to clear goods from the ports through the paperless process. We made it easier to apply for a construction permit. We have reduced inflation. We have reduced bank lending rates. We have reduced depreciation of the cedi. Allowance of security personnel at UN peacekeeping missions increased from $31 to $35. We have spent $21 billion to save the deposits of 4.7 million depositors. We have implemented free TVET. Mr. Speaker, let us remember what we have achieved with 2 fish and 5 loaves even in these 5 years, and strive boldly, Mr. Speaker, and confidently to build our entrepreneurial nation. It is remarkable, Mr. Speaker, what we have been able to do with our debt in these 5 years. We have implemented, of course, the free senior high school initiative. Mr. Speaker, While we have not eliminated suffering, we have done more in terms of social intervention than any other government since 1992. And certainly more in this regard than the NDC governments. We will therefore continue to work towards mitigating the burdens imposed on by the global impact of COVID-19 on Ghanaians, as we also commit to tackle the social ills of expenditure control, corruption, recurring leakages, and low productivity. We shall work with labor and employers to institute a National Labour Conference to promote productivity in all its forms. Mr. Speaker, with his renewed mandate, His Excellency the President is resolute that in the next 3 years he will establish a stronger and more stable economy, an entrepreneurial nation that empowers young people to be bold, innovative, proactive, and dynamic to contribute to the transformation of our country. Mr. Speaker, in addition to continuing the implementation of our flagship programs, we will scale up interventions under the 100 billion Ghana Obatampa program, especially in the agriculture and industrial sectors, and the Youth Start agenda. In 2022, Mr. Speaker, through this budget, we will activate the 10 billion Youth Start program nationwide to promote skills and entrepreneurship among our youth. We will continue to support the private sector to expand and provide employment opportunities for our people. We'll build up our financial architecture to be responsible and to be world-class. We'll prioritize the completion of ongoing projects in health, education, and the housing sectors to drive social mobility and transformation. We'll leverage of the AFCFTA Secretariat to become a regional hub in all sectors of the economy. Among others, we'll continue to ramp up our revenue mobilization efforts to enable us to secure quality living standards. We will continue to subject all public expenditure to thorough justification in line with the PFM Act to ensure value for money for every cedi spent. We will aggressively continue with road construction to connect communities, markets, and people. We'll continue to advance digitization, Speaker, to ensure that our climate policies and our gender policies are first class. We'll continue to resource our security agencies to defend and protect Ghana and Ghanaians. We'll continue to reform the energy sector, promote climate resilience, and drive the adaptation of renewable energy technologies. Mr. Speaker, Scripture teaches us that the process of building a nation is in phases. We learn from the story of the biblical Israel that life in the wilderness is very different from the promised land. In the desert, God freely provided for the necessities of the young nation: food, water, clothing. When the nation transitioned into their promised land, God enabled them to cultivate farms and build enterprises for themselves and their country. We, Mr. Speaker, can draw lessons from this ancient story for our national quest. Building on the foundations laid by the earlier MPP government of President John Kufuor, the current MPP administration, under the bold and visionary leadership of President Akufo-Addo, has revamped our economy, enhanced social mobility, strengthened our democratic credentials, and illuminated the Black Star like no one else since independence. Today, we want to lead our young men and women to their promised land, an entrepreneurial nation of burden sharers. It is time to cross the Jordan, and as FDR said in his inaugural address, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Anyway. With the interventions we offer through this budget and with an understanding of burden sharing, we shall unleash a new cadre of entrepreneurs and nation builders. We want to thank this august House, Mr. Speaker, for the continuous support we have been receiving over the years. We will count on you for approval and support to implement the budget for the transformation of our country. We are also appreciative of the numerous stakeholders for providing useful insights and perspectives in shaping this budget. So as we end, Mr. Speaker, let us ask Jehovah to bless us and keep us. Let Jehovah make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Jehovah lift his countenance upon us and give us peace, and bless us his children and our nation Ghana to be great and strong. Mr. Speaker, I present to you the Ajinkwa budget. Right Honourable Speaker, I pledge to move.
Honourable members, order. Honourable members, order. Honourable members, I'm going to start mentioning names. Order. Honourable members, in accordance with the standing orders, Order 143, debate on the motion shall stand adjourned to a deputation. I hereby direct that a part of the budget relating to the ministries and constitutional bodies shall stand committed respectively to the committees responsible for the subject matter, to which the heads of the estimates relate, for consideration and report in accordance with Order 144. Furthermore, any part of the budget relating to revenue, expenditure, shall stand committed to the Finance Committee in accordance with Order 140, sub 5. Yes, leaders of the House, any indication? Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we have heard the Honourable Minister for Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, on the 2022 budget statement. Mr. Speaker, Chrono Ayesh, the system is hot. To it, the system may not be able to bear the hardship. Literally, the system is hot, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it's only the Honourable Ken Ofori-Atta who ironically eases burdens, to quote his words, that they are not, there is no illusion about the suffering of Ghanaians, yet he is imposing further suffering, imposing a 1.75 Momo electronic banking tax. So it's only Ken Ofori-Atta who eases suffering with the imposition of new taxes targeted at 15 billion Ghana cedis within this period. But Mr. Speaker, with this promise of unsustainable debt, increased suffering and hardships beyond CST, Communication Service Tax and VAT, is bringing in e-transaction levies, that he will reverse the gains of financial inclusion. But Mr. Speaker, we are not in a haste to debate him. And when you project revenue from 53 billion to 80 billion within 1 year, the market have listened to you. Ghanaians have listened to you. This budget does not end any suffering. You will be credited in the Guinness Book of Records for borrowing more than any other minister under the Fourth Republic. Mr. Speaker, with that, I will not hesitate to second the motion for adjournment. I will not hesitate. I will allow the leader of government business, who himself today is not too smiling. The Vice President, the chairhead, is not here today because of acting capacity. We've advised him to grow beyond coming to chair a Minister for Finance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think for the avoidance of doubt, it's important to clear this statement that has been made by the Minority Leader in respect of the acting President's absence from the chamber. The Vice President, as we do know, is the head of the Economic Management Team. And at budget, Mr. Speaker, he has always been with us. Today, he's not with us. And the reason is simple. Mr. Speaker, today, he is the acting President. And because he's the acting President, and because it is a President who causes the Finance Minister to come and present the budget to the House, the President cannot be in the House. Mr. Speaker, that is for the uninitiated. That is for the uninitiated. That is the technical position. Mr. Speaker, if the President comes to this House, once the President comes to this House, as you do know, the maize will have to be subsumed into the sword of the state. Because when he comes to speak to us. And because the President will not be speaking to us. So people should understand this. People should understand this. And for those of them who don't understand this simple thing, I'm sorry for them. It means they are not learned in the parliamentary practice.
Order. Honorable Member for Sojamai, I can see you conducting a choir. Yes, Honorable Majority Leader. Baby mama. Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable Minority Chief Whip, I'm waiting on you to bring calm to your side, then we'll continue. Let me inform you. Honorable members on the minority side, let me inform you that the instruction Mr. Speaker gave me was to have anybody who disrupts proceedings removed by the marshal. That was the Speaker's instruction. It was given in the presence of members. And I will not hesitate to do that. Yes, Honorable Majority Leader, if you may conclude.
Why do they do that? Speaker, I believe the good people of this country will get to know that when the minority leader addresses this House, the majority side listens to him in silence. When the majority leader gets up to address the House, they elect not to listen. The good people of this country will learn. Mr. Speaker, in consonance with Order 140, Sub 3, as we said, the debate on the budget will stand adjourned until Tuesday, the 23rd of November. Mr. Speaker, that really is the result of the discussion that leadership held this morning. Mr. Speaker, this nation must develop COVID-19 or no COVID-19. Yet, recognizably, COVID-19 has effected considerable devastation on the economy, and the economy is distressed. Business have collapsed, jobs have been lost, lives indeed have been lost. And yet, paradoxically, as you do know, a government is put in place not to explain away problems, but to solve the problems. The Speaker, that indeed is the purpose of what exercise the Minister for Finance has done today. This budget, the Speaker, is set to give this country a new beginning, a watershed budget that will mark a new beginning for us as a country, to break away from the past and give Ghanaians a new beginning. The Speaker, the many initiatives contained in the budget are clear for everybody to know. The Speaker, the Minister has not shied away from admitting that there are indeed downsides to our development agenda. The Speaker, for those of them who are asking what I'm debating, they should have asked the minority leader the same question. They should have asked the minority leader the same question. When you bring the fight, you will push the fight back to you. If you don't have the courage, don't initiate it.
Yes, and you'll be crying like this. Crying like this.
Mr. Speaker, so there are many initiatives, but as I indicated, the day for the debate hasn't yet dawned. I want to believe that on Tuesday, the 23rd of November, the House would brace itself to a very robust debate. And I believe that the truth would come out. Not propaganda. The truth will come out for Ghanaians to know. The Speaker, this budget is not a propaganda budget. That is why it is not a green book. It is why it is not a green book. The Speaker, so we'll debate it when the time arises. The Speaker having said so, because the time is long past 2 o'clock, it's the usual closing time, we don't need a motion for adjournment. Adjourning, Mr. Speaker, lies with you, and I believe that we would adjourn the House so that we can move to ponder over what we have done. And, Mr. Speaker, we have agreed. I'll punish you. By way of announcement, we have agreed that the post-budget workshop.
I'll get hold of it. I'll punish you. You. I said, I'm going. How come me at Pharaoh?
As I was saying,
How come
the post-budget workshop will hold in Hull, and we are told that the facility may not be available in the morning of Saturday. So the post-budget workshop will begin in earnest in the afternoon of Saturday, and for us at home. And the adjournment for today, Mr. Speaker, because of an earlier commitment, the adjournment for today until tomorrow, the sitting for tomorrow will not begin at 10, but rather begin at 12 o'clock in the noon. 12 o'clock noon time tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, let me also say that the Women Caucus are supposed to hold themselves in readiness for a group photograph soon after we adjourn. A group photograph, the Women Caucus. The same goes for leadership of the House. For some particular reason, the Women Caucus, all of you together, will have a group photograph. Mainly we adjourn, and the same goes for leadership. Having said so, Mr. Speaker, as I said, adjournment rests with you. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, honourable members. Before I adjourn the House, let me repeat this announcement that the Women Caucus and the leadership of the House are required to take photographs for the 2022 calendar of Parliament. Please note that it is immediately after adjournment. On that note, the House...